I get bored quickly. I need new and exciting challenges and adventures. Doing the same thing from the time you become an adult to the time you go to your grave sounds, yeah, a little depressing. I tell my husband, I want someone to have to write on the back of my tombstone. I don't want the front to be everything.
That's
I
right.
want them to need more room. So she was a mom, she was a wife, she was a pediatrician, she was a furniture maker, she was an educator, and I'm not done yet.
Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of Trade Secrets by Tripletote. Today, we have a great guest on the show who I'm glad and proud to introduce you guys to. Her name is Marci Klein, and she has a company called Three Ducks Design. The reason I want to have Marci on the show is because she has a very dynamic background. She has taken the benefit of two lives, two careers, and combined them into something that is helping out children everywhere. Hi, Marci. Thank you for coming on.
Hi. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
That's awesome. Now, before we get to your company, Three Ducks Design, and what it does, you have a very interesting path starting with education.
Yeah. Yes, I do have an interesting past. I actually started as a pediatrician. I worked as a community and academic pediatrician for about 20 years. Then I took a little bit of a 180 and actually started developing furniture as a little bit of a hobby and a job, which didn't really end well because nobody really bought my furniture. But what it did do is teach me how to start a business and become an entrepreneur. And that actually led me to, rather than architecting furniture, architecting educational sets for kids. So it kind of combined my entrepreneurial spirit and my knowledge as a pediatrician and combined them together to create this business, which has gone quite well.
That's awesome. Your pathway to your current business, you have obviously high intellectual capacity, right? And you have this creative buzz at the same time. Like you went to some pretty big colleges to become a pediatrician, right?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I started, I actually went to University of Michigan as an undergrad in Ann Arbor, which was awesome. And then I went to NYU for my training in medicine and my residency. And then I also did a fellowship at NYU. So, yeah.
Now, when you were in school, did you always have this creative line going alongside your curriculum and your studies?
Yes, I did. And it didn't have a very good outlet for many years. Undergrad, I did do some art work. During medical school, residency, fellowship, there was like no room for that at all. But having kids had the beautiful benefit of allowing me to be creative with my kids when we did play, rather than, a lot of parents will give their kids just toys and kind of let them play and read the instructions and do it. We were very heavy into more creative, open-ended play. So cardboard boxes and Legos were the two favorite toys in our household. So yeah, that allowed me a much more creative outlet with my kids.
Now, were you already a pediatrician when you became a mom, or were you a mom first before?
They kind of happened a little bit together. I was officially a pediatrician because I had finished my training and graduated. Well, I was officially a doctor, I'll say. I graduated med school. Met my husband in med school, first day in the elevator, going up to my dorm. I'm like, that guy's kind of cute. Took about 6 months to think I was cute too. But yeah, so we dated all through medical school. And then during fellowship, we got married and had a very successful honeymoon.
Awesome.
9 months later, my daughter was born. So
that is successful.
yes.
So when you're a pediatrician at this time and you're raising your daughter, are you combining the things you're learning from actually having a daughter with the things you're practicing in medicine? Because sometimes the medical world doesn't account for the nuances of raising a child or giving a child healthcare, right? They
Oh my
just have a by
God.
the book way, right?
100%, 100%. It's like so easy to read a textbook and spit out what a parent is supposed to do.
Hmm.
And then you have a baby in front of you, and like the books just don't describe what you experience or what you're supposed to do in different situations. So yeah, I mean, 100%. I can guarantee you there's not a pediatrician out there who hasn't actually let their baby fall off of a sofa or a bed. Like that's the first thing you
Yeah.
teach every single patient, don't leave them alone for even 1 second. All it takes is 1 second, you turn around and they're on the
Hmm.
floor. Well, but you live that even as a doctor, like it just everything. And then you don't feel as like, oh my God, you weren't a good parent because you let your baby fall, because you're like, wait, I just let my baby fall too. So
Yeah.
I mean, like that, and that's just like the first day,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
every single milestone is so much different when you're counseling a patient. Or I mean, I call the parents my patients as well. So when you're counseling a parent, the experience of having your own child and knowing what that parent goes through, it just changes your teaching and your profession 100%.
Now, while you were a pediatrician, how did you feel about your career, the industry? How did you feel about it? Were you like happy? Were you happy, but then it was time for a change? How did you feel about it while you were in it?
I mean, I always loved being a pediatrician. I loved the human contact, working with parents and with the child. The electronic medical records came around, and I was finding myself typing a whole lot more than I was actually engaging with patients. So that definitely changed things a little bit for me. I was always an employee working 3 or 4 days a week. I never owned the practice. So I did have the nice benefit of, even though I came home and I still worried about my patients, I wasn't worried about my practice and the bureaucracy and
Mm.
business side of it. I could kind of go home and enjoy my family and, just follow up with a few patients I needed to. So, I forgot your question. Yeah, I
I
do
was
that.
asking just how you felt. You
Oh,
answered
yeah,
it.
how I felt. Yeah, so I always did love doing that. It became a little bit more challenging. And I always said, when I spend more than 50% of my time in front of the computer versus in front of the patient, that's just not a good combination. I should be spending most of my time with my patient, not typing and doing paperwork. So just in around the time that I switched careers, and it wasn't because of that really, but then I started doing this new company with education and feeling like I could reach just as many children and do just as much good in a different way. But I got to do what I wanted because it's my business. And it was awesome. I mean, just working with kids in a whole different way.
Mhm.
Most of what I really enjoyed about pediatrics was about counseling parents and counseling patients more than like diagnosing strep versus pneumonia. I mean, that was
Yeah.
good too, but like the real value that I got was the counseling and the wisdom that I could give to help kids grow strong. And I still have that in my new company.
That's awesome. Now, before getting Three Ducks completely off the ground, you had a detour, well, right, into furniture. What was that about?
So I'm in my pediatric office when everything switched over to electronic medical records. Like the whole room was not designed for you to actually type. I mean, that's just not the way office is. So I
Hmm.
found myself looking around my office being like, this design doesn't work for like when you're typing in front of your patient. Like I need a cart. I need this cool like furniture that I can go from room to room. It has my stethoscope, it has my otoscope, and it just got me thinking about furniture. And ultimately, when I started a furniture line, it really wasn't for medical rooms, but just that creative thinking and getting interested in how architecture, furniture in a room and a space are determined by the needs of the person that is using it got me thinking in that mindset. And
Mm.
ultimately furniture, even though it was really cool to design and build and make, in the end, it's not my passion to make the furniture. It was really about designing for someone or for a purpose, rather than the making of the furniture itself. And that's what kind of translated into Three Ducks in the end, is what we teach kids is to design and think about it. Think about your needs or someone else's needs and design a solution for them.
That's awesome. When you were doing the furniture, were you doing it while you were still pediatrician, or did you go in all in?
It was an overlap. Yeah, there was a good overlap there. About 2 years of overlap. And then once I started actually physically making the furniture and had a factory and was doing, the actual woodwork and metal work that needed to be done for the furniture, that's when I took off from pediatrics for a while, thinking I could always go back there. But then this company popped up and I'm enjoying it so much. So
That's awesome. Yeah, you're well on your journey, and I think it's opened up a path for you. Like first being a pediatrician, working with kids, loving that part of it, and not liking it when they take you away from it, put you on paperwork so much. Then combining that with your design for furniture, which is like the parents of Three Ducks, right? Furniture design combined with helping out children in a different capacity.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, how did you get started with Three Ducks? Like, how did you make your first set of activity pieces and things like that?
For sure. So it was interesting. So I'm here as a furniture maker trying to like start my business, making furniture like one piece at a time, never really kind of getting that critical mass that it needed to become like a real company. But we had a factory. We had a big CNC router table, which allows you to cut mostly wood, but can cut pretty much anything. And we had a 3D printer that we needed to prototype pieces for the furniture. And it turns out that during that period of time, while I was struggling to become an entrepreneur and furniture maker, my daughter took an architecture class as a summer program and said children should learn architecture at an early age because it really blends creative play, art, and STEM learning, math and engineering concepts as they build and design buildings. So she actually took our 3D printer with her brother. They designed connectors, and we used the CNC router to cut cardboard shapes. And that is where our product started. And I had learned a lot about web development and graphic design and CAD and all these skills to make furniture. So when my daughter and son decided to start their little company, I practiced with them. I'm like, let's create graphics for your box. You have to sell, you have to market, you have to look good. So let's design a box. So I taught my kids graphic design and like 3D printing and CAD and rendering through their company. That was my daughter leaving college for a second. So we used the machinery in the factory. We used my knowledge of how to start a website and how to incorporate and how to start to sell. And we created our product line in my workshop. And within probably 2 months of selling these little kits at farmers markets, I kind of like a light bulb went off in my head. Kids were being creative. They were learning geometry and engineering concepts. Parents were not on their phones. They were actually sitting down on our little IKEA stools next to their kids and playing with them. Dads were playing with their little daughters. The little girls were coloring in, but the dads were really into the design and the building side of it. So it was like this perfect little combination of experiences for both kid and parent. And I saw the social interaction that I think is missing a lot in modern times with everybody kind of plugged in. But the most interesting thing that happened was in these farmers markets, their local markets, everybody comes, and teachers were coming by and saying, I would want these in my classroom. These are brilliant. We do so much work with cardboard, but the glue and the tape that you use for this, for cardboard construction and just cutting up cardboard is really hard for kids. We love your shapes and we love these connectors, and our kids would really benefit from it. And that's when we started heading towards the education field and creating lesson plans and curriculum, which I had to learn. I've never been a teacher. I've never gone to education school. Then again, I never went to business school either. So nothing's not surmountable. Luckily with the internet, you can learn anything you need. You just have to know how to find it and be dedicated and wanting to learn. So we created a whole platform for learning. Schools love them.
That's awesome. What I like about your story is that you were very practical. You didn't need a business plan. right? You didn't need
Well, I tried.
yeah. Thank God for the lean launch pad, right? Just keeping it short and
Exactly.
simple. But
Mhm.
you just said, let me just see. You didn't take a giant leap. You didn't mortgage a house. You said, let's just try these out where we can locally at a farmer's market, see what the response is, and then we'll go from there. And then
Mhm.
that propelled you to get information, customer feedback, like innovation, like, okay, we won't use cardboard. We'll make it something that the children can actually work with and manipulate better. And then you just iterated and you got them to the classroom.
Mhm.
How did you get your first school client customer, your first teacher client
Mhm.
customer? How did you get your actual first school on board?
Let's see. I have to go back and remember. I really think it was, I mean, we were already selling to schools at the farmers market a little
Mm,
bit, but it was like an individual teacher who was also a mom who would bring it into her class. We didn't really have kits for an entire classroom yet. But what happened was we started writing a few little activities, like lesson plans essentially. And then we just decided, let's try, we were doing like bigger markets. So instead of farmers markets, we were going to like New York City,
mm,
bigger like holiday markets, where there's a ton of people and making more sales. So, as we got more and more feedback and it was clear that teachers were really liking the product, we developed a classroom kit and we went to a conference, a national conference. We paid, we were vendors there. We had a booth and it was like an amazing experience and we learned so much. We got into a few schools, but mostly what we got was very valuable information. They wanted lesson plans. I'm a creative person. I can come up with a way to keep my own kids engaged and
mm.
have them build an entire city out of cardboard, but I can't expect every teacher to be able to do that. They wanted
Understood.
some structure, like where is the learning in here? Oh, well, here, this is how they learn geometry. Here's a ruler system you can use to measure, and they learn volume and they learn angles. But they needed, not every educator has the ability to like just create that. So we created it for them. So that first conference got us into a bunch of schools.
That's
And
awesome.
we've been
That's
going to
awesome.
education conferences ever since, up until the pandemic, which cut us out of 3 conferences we were supposed to go to.
Yeah, it's really, 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 really a different time right now, and I'm glad that for the most part everybody is complying to the best of their ability and everything. So, I'm grateful that people are helping this thing pass through, hopefully sooner than later. And I appreciate everybody on the front lines doing their thing also. Let me ask you, during your time of being a pediatrician and having a furniture company, and then turning into three ducks and developing children's products, STEM products.
Mhm.
What would you say it is that kept you going throughout the ups and downs, challenges, etc.?
Yeah, so it was a lot harder with furniture, because I was never 100% passionate about furniture. Like if
Mm,
I walked you around my house right now, you'd be like, why does she make furniture? Like she obviously doesn't care that much about her own home. But you know what? When you're a pediatrician and you make a difference in one child's life, whether it's something like medical or emotional, like you remember that, and like it just gets you through any of the other challenges. And with this company, and seeing little kids' eyes bright up when they actually like catch like this bit of knowledge and they get it, is just amazing feeling. So that really propels me. And we've definitely had challenges, especially when you're starting to work with like resellers or wholesalers. And,
mm,
in the retail world, it's not as, in the toy world, it's not as much people are passionate about what they do in the end user. It's a business.
yeah,
And that can be challenging because that's not what it's like for me and our kids and our family that are growing this business. It's really about the end results. So there's definitely been challenges in there, like me not understanding, like, but that's not good for kids, like
yeah,
one company wanted to actually license our product. It was a pretty big company, and they kind of did their own market testing, and they came back to me and they're like, a lot of the kids were like kind of making guns out, like toy guns out of it and playing war. And I'm like, no, that's not what our product will ever be. And that's not I don't have a problem with it, but like my product's not going to do that,
Understood.
So it's like, it's challenging. It has had its challenges, but in the end, I think what we're doing and what we're creating in the lesson plans are teaching real world problem solving, and just through children designing products for a theoretical end user brings empathy and connectivity into the project, which is something that is hugely valuable for kids. So that's what propels us. I mean, even if we never made money off of it and I just sold this to 1 million kids at cost, I'd still keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because it's just so cool to just be able to connect kids. I mean, we have kids in Kenya and Benin
Wow.
and Thailand and Canada, and England, Scotland, using our products and sharing their projects with us, which is so cool.
Now, when a classroom or teacher gets a kit, what comes with it? Are you able to show us quickly what comes in the kit?
Yeah, this is actually my setup for when I do little activities. I didn't. So this is like I don't know if you can see it. This is what a child's like you would buy for your child. Like we have them on Amazon, we have them on our website. So this comes with lesson plans and activities, but it's really designed for like one kid or two children at home. I don't have the whole kit, but this is like what like a classroom would get. It has a ton of connectors in it, and then it comes with a box of a ton of cardboard that are already actually I was just doing a lesson, so you can see some of the cardboard shapes. They usually come white, but we paint them, we color them, we decorate them. Here's like an original white one. So it comes with about 500 pieces of cardboard, so kids can build literally an entire city with our product. And then we include lessons with electricity, so they can electrify their cities. They can actually do solar powered cities and wind powered cities at this point.
That's awesome. If somebody's looking to order a batch or get started or connect with you, what is the best way to connect with you?
Oh, sure. So through our website is the best way. And that's where you get all of our products, but also all of our lesson plans, which are free and available online. So the name of the company is 3Dux Design. It's the number 3, DUX, DESIGN. So it's just 3duxdesign.com.
Perfect. What do you have on the horizon for the company? Are you developing more pieces? Are you trying to expand markets?
Yeah, we are really focused on an international global community. So in the last few months, we have developed a full-blown curriculum for in the classroom, but it comes with a student showcase page. So on our website, we have a map. And on that map has gold stars, and every gold star is a community that has completed their project. So if you went there, you would see St. Louis, Seattle, Washington, Bridgeport, Connecticut, Thailand, I'm not sure what town it is, Abimi, Benin, Mabita, Kenya. Students from all over the world use our product. They build a sample of their own community, and they share something that's really culturally important to them through building a model of it and storytelling. And then we load their projects on our website. So kids in Bridgeport, Connecticut can learn about kids in Kenya through the children. Instead of like researching it, they actually get to see what the kids do and listen to them talk. If they've given us video content or share pictures and written story, some words from their teacher about how their teacher experienced the project. So that's really what we're building out. We really want to create a global community. And ultimately, we envision, I wouldn't call them contests because it's not like one team against another, but more of like a collaborative community experience where we will post a challenge one year. Here's this community in need. This is their problem. Interview the kids that live in that community. They present their problem. And then towns and communities all over the world can design solutions to that problem and present their solutions.
I think what I like about everything you just explained and told us about your path to where you are is that along the way you learn what you were interested in more,
Mm-hmm.
and you just went toward that more. So furniture was a design thing more so than a furniture thing. And then you really got into design and taking the love for kids and growth and seeing their interaction when they have their aha moments just drove you even further. And sometimes people think they need to know everything out the gate, what's the perfect thing for them. But I think you just demonstrate that it's a journey, and the more you go down the path of what makes you happy, and even if you don't chase money, the closer you'll get toward like feeling that day-to-day happiness about what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Somebody, and I won't quote myself because it wasn't me, but I was at a lecture once and they said straight paths are boring. And I would have to agree. You know, I could never imagine doing one thing, even within Three Ducks. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm always reaching for some new angle. And I mean, there's enough in there to keep me busy for many years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not one who I get bored quickly. I need new and exciting challenges and adventures. Doing the same thing from the time you become an adult to the time you go to your grave sounds, yeah, a little depressing. I tell my husband, I want someone to have to write on the back of my tombstone. I don't want the front to be everything.
That's
I
right.
want them to need more room. So she was a mom, she was a wife, she was a pediatrician, she was a furniture maker, she was an educator, and I'm not done yet. So
That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing your information, sharing your story. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in, whether you're reading this, listening to it on the audio cast, or watching the video. Stay tuned for more excellent guests like Marci. And we're going to all learn what it takes to be an entrepreneur together at the same time, which is the great part of the community I've built and the great part about the podcast I'm trying to get out there to the world. So, Marci, thank you again for coming on. Thank you so much.
thank you for having me.
Awesome.